Welcome to Military Faith and Spiritual Resilience. This is Elizabeth Fulgaro. With me today is Alexandra Siliezar, sister to Abraham Siliezar, former U.S. Marine. Thank you for being with us again, Alexandra.
Thank you for having me.
So we've been talking about this wonderful brother of yours, Abraham, this gentle, kind soul with a deep, abiding faith and a belief that all is well, even when it's not, right? And he's gone missing. Can you share a little bit about where your faith is as you walk this out?
Oh, Elizabeth, good question. It ebbs and flows, and it's very real, and it's very raw. Mm-hmm. Now, I was taught the love of God since I can recall any and all memories of my life. And so he has been very present in my life. Call it denial, call it whatever it may be. I wanted to believe that my brother was going to come home. Mm-hmm. He was going to come home. He was going to be okay. Regardless of everything else going on, he was going to be okay. Now, mind you, I have a little child at home who does not know her uncle is missing, but had begun to have some conversations along the way, like, I sure wish people would tell me something when they're, and I'm paraphrasing, like if there's a secret and they don't say and share anything, and then later on you find out information that you should have known all along, and that people haven't just shared. And she would start doing these things and start singing Amazing Grace. Oh. I once was lost and now I am found. Ooh. And I just started looking at her like, what is going on here? Mm. And I hadn't told my father either that my brother was missing. Now, I didn't want to tell my mom, but mothers know. And, when she said, I think Abraham is missing, and this is very, very early that week, I didn't want to admit it. No, Mom, he's going to be all right. He's probably, he's, how he is. He comes home late or whatever. But I was already panicked. I already knew something was going on. And I had warned my cousin that I was going to have TV station show that he was missing, and I was trying to brainstorm, how do we have my mom not watch this and not have anyone tell my mom that this is going to be out in public, because I don't want her to know that he's missing. But God has different plans, you see.
Does.
Really, God? Let me plan for once. Please let me keep everyone under a cave while I try to think that I'm the one in control. Oh. God, please. But God has a different plan, Elizabeth. A plan that we're not always aware of and never in control of, and not have any clue of why these things are happening. And as I sit here, my stomach, it churns just like it did back then. And I can tell you that my sweet brother, God had a different plan for him. And God had seen him in and out of hospitals with so many needles through every vein they could poke. They would even find veins on his feet because the other ones were dried up, and on his toes because even the ones on his fingers were dried up. And God had seen his pain, and God had seen the pain of rejection that this society would give him when he was probably filthy after he had a seizure. God had seen his pain and agony of a sweet soul that believed in Jesus. And God had a different plan, and I said, not yet. Not yet. Not this way. Because even if he had a plan to take him home, why this way? Why now? Why alone? It's not human, and it's not godly, I said. And I was disgusted And if I may rawly say, yes, I was disgusted with this godly plan, or whatever it was. I have a hard time. I've served my church. I try to serve God. I try to be a good person. My brother certainly was. And I just did not understand how and why. And so my daughter, who loves God and was begging to be baptized at a very young age, and I kept saying, no, you're too young. I want you to get to know God. You get to know what you're committing yourself to. You get to understand what this means. Because it's not just an emotional thing you do. It's a commitment, and you need to know this. She prayed and begged for 2 years. Now, if you have to know my daughter, we go to these beautiful annual retreats with our church. And we had a youth pastor, leader, worldwide leader for youth, that he's magnificent. And we love Pastor Rojas. And she got to meet him, and she asked the pastor, this is before my brother went missing a couple of years earlier, and told him she wanted to be baptized. And the pastor's like, what do you think, Mom? Anyway, long story short, we prayed about it. And through many challenges, God opened many doors. And I think everyone would fall off their chair if they knew all these challenges. But it happened, and my daughter was baptized at a very early age. And she made a very big commitment to God. And she has served him to this day. And she herself asked, and continues to ask sometimes. At one point she said, Mom, is God real? And if so, why did he allow this to happen to Uncle Abraham? How do I answer a little girl when I myself am feeling torn and with an anxiety that won't stop and fear of even going to sleep myself at night because I can only visualize and think of what my brother went through while he was missing? How do I do that? And how do I pray to God to give me the words to teach, to show compassion, to love, to be kind when I'm angry? I don't know. I can just give it to God and I ask, help me in the moment, because I can't think past that moment. Through those days, I was knitting. I knitted. And it was one little stitch at a time, one little crochet. I was doing everything I could just to breathe that second, because I couldn't think end of the day. I couldn't think 30 minutes ahead. I couldn't think anything more. Where does my faith, where is it now? Where is it today? It's a work in progress, Elizabeth.
I think that's honest. Because you're facing some of the complexity, those things that we can't understand, where you're the child of God, and where, like you as a parent with your daughter, she's not going to understand everything that you see and know and the breadth of your comprehension. And in the same way, we can't understand the fullness of this creation and what's to come, and the theology, for lack of a better word, of suffering and evil, right, in the midst of what God is. So it's going to be a work in progress, because you're before your daddy is saying, I don't understand, and maybe beating on his chest a little bit, right? And maybe crying, and maybe angry, and then sad, and all the other emotions. The cool part is he can take it.
Yeah.
And that he doesn't expect anything different from you, because he weeps with those who weep too, right? So it makes complete sense that that's where you would be, right? And how did it go from there with your faith, with God, with your brother missing, We're almost a month into the process.
Well, as my daughter was singing, I once was found, I once was lost and I was found. Now, I didn't keep track of the dates of when she was singing these songs, making these comments. But I had a call from a special friend. May I dare say the name?
You can.
Miss Elizabeth in front of me.
Oh,
yeah. Called me and said, or reached out to me and said, would you like to pray? Knowing my friend is a friend of faith, it could not have been the most perfect gift at the time where I just needed to pray with someone who has a deep connection with God. And of course I said yes. It was exactly what I needed. And I remember the words in that prayer. And you, my dear friend Elizabeth, said, uncover him. Uncover him, Lord. And that, at that moment, it could have meant so many things. What I wanted to hear in that prayer was, bring him home alive, Lord. But what very wisely was said was, uncover him wherever he is. Uncover him. Less than 1 week later, he was uncovered. God knew that there were also other steps that needed to happen. I think that weekend was the weekend that I also went and told my father his son was missing. Now, my father had at the time the early stages of dementia, so he did not really understand exactly the gravity. And he said, he's missing. Let's go find him. Let's go.
Oh, God bless him. Oh.
So I wanted to tell him, no, it's, it's not going to happen, because I had exhausted every corner of San Francisco. I had talked to every source I could. And at the time, an 89-year-old man was not going to make much of a change at this point, but to entertain his right to look for his brother, I entertained my dad's search, and I took him to the normal spots that I had already searched that I knew my brother was not at, but just to help my dad. And then my daughter, within those days, said, Mom, I know your secret. Oh. And I pretended I had no clue what she was talking about. And I said, what secret? What are you talking about? She goes, I know. And I said, oh, okay. Well, what is it? She goes, I know about Uncle Abraham. Oh. And I said, what is it that you know? He's missing. And I asked her how she found out. She had seen a flyer through someone's phone, and she had kept that a secret and thought that she would get in trouble for letting me know. Oh. And now I had to take care of that little soul. And shortly after these 3 incidents of my beautiful friend Elizabeth's prayer and telling my father and sharing with my daughter, there were no more secrets to be kept. Nothing else to cover up. I was not in control. So God took control. And that next week in October, that next week, the police did find my brother. But I did not know about it until a month later. I was not informed for a full month.
That's stunning.
So I had kept searching and making flyers and talking to people and hoping and praying for another month after he was uncovered, but I did not know. And one day I was posting flyers in Marin County, Now, I had called every hospital from the South Bay all the way to Nevada to Oregon, Washington. I had called everywhere, just looking for him. And so then suddenly I get a call, phone rings, I'm sitting down, and someone says, do you have time? Is this a bad time to call? No, I said, no, this is fine. This is fine. It was the coroner's office. And they said, it's bad. I said, I know.
Oh, my goodness.
I said, I know. I knew that. I said, are you sure? Can you take this? I said, yes, I'm ready. I knew it. I said, I've been waiting for this, right? So I took the information. It was very clinical. I just asked where, how, when, what's the next step? What do I do? But you see, I had a mom waiting for me at my home, babysitting my child while I was out there, quote unquote, doing my job. And I had a job to do. I had to tell a mother that her firstborn was gone.
Oh, Alexandra.
And I had my daughter to tell that her uncle was not coming home.
I'm so sorry.
Because you see, when my daughter found out, and I was honest, and I said, yes, Uncle Abraham is missing. I told her, but you know, Uncle Abraham, he probably, you know, he forgets things. He probably just forgot to call us, or maybe he forgot to come home. I don't know. And she said to me, but Mommy, he would never forget you. And you know what? He would never, ever forget me. So Uncle Abraham is going to come home. I try to carry life to provide for her some sort of normalcy. And I took her to an event where, you know, she was going to perform somewhere in Berkeley. And then we were in Berkeley and she said, Mom, I want to do something to find Uncle Abraham.
Oh, my.
I want to do something. And I get it, because we all want to be able to do something, to say we try, to have a feeling of power, of having some kind of control. And versus just sitting on the couch and being idle, doing nothing. So I knew that this little girl needed to do something. So we recorded a little video that she wanted me to publicize on social media and saying, hi, you know, she said her name, she held a missing person page, and she said, this is my uncle and he's missing. That was on a Sunday night. That next Monday is when I was informed my brother was found. And I think that God had a plan. He wanted me to stop being in control. He wanted to tell me, open it up. Let everyone know. Everyone needs to deal with this. Everyone needs the opportunity to deal with it and stop being in control. I have control. He's at peace. He's with me. And that moment that I let go, he was uncovered. There was nothing else to cover up.
Thank you for being so vulnerable to share such difficult things. Let's continue it.